What if the people who trigger us the most aren't just difficult people, but mirrors, showing us the parts of ourselves we haven't fully integrated? Have you ever met someone, a friend or a colleague, and as you got to know them, there was quite obvious contrast in a character trait you both share? At first, you might have even admired a trait somebody has. For example, the classic, you're an introvert and your friend is an extrovert. What might first draw you to this person is their effortless ability to communicate in public, make friends easily, and their overall confidence. Meanwhile, you are a homebody, nervous to talk to people and have harder time making new friends. There's actually nothing wrong with this dynamic. It can work really well if the two individuals have these traits in balance. Then they can complement each other. The extroverted person can help the introvert one raise their confidence, while the introverted one can help the extrovert become more introspective and calm. I myself am introverted, so I always appreciate my friends who have more extroverted ingredients in their soup. They would always bring me out of my hermit cave, and I would also learn from them. Now, when these traits are quite unconscious, if they fall under these two people's shadows, there will be quite a significant and obvious imbalance. So if these two unbalanced people meet, they might not even like each other, and each one would mirror their own unaccepted and unintegrated selves. Someone who is extremely extroverted might manifest as a show-off or even a know-it-all, while a person who is too introverted might have special anxiety and be too much of a pushover. When these two people meet, it can create quite a toxic dynamic, like the extroverted individual mocking or manipulating the introverted one and taking advantage of their people-pleasing tendencies. Now, they are both going to trigger each other. The introvert will be pushed to stand for themselves, while the extrovert will learn to treat people better. These two people might meet somewhere they can't avoid each other, like colleagues at work, etc. Because when you're trapped in these kind of places together, you will have the best opportunity to see your shadows. I was the socially anxious introvert, and I would meet many people in the past who would shine a light on my inability to stand up for myself, on my inability to ask what I want, and on my lack of personal boundaries. This kept happening until I became more conscious of it and brought it into better balance, thanks to my previous encounters with people who were a little bit more abusive and extremely extroverted. And of course, I did the same thing for them. They should have learned that if they push a person like that, they will never experience a true friendship. There are a lot more examples of these dynamics, but from my experience, extroverted people who have more influential energy and are not healed are typically in polarity with the quieter people like unhealed introverts. Let me give you another example. One person might be a bit of perfectionist to the point that his house must be completely spotless. He must always be organized to the point that one displaced book in his bookshelf will send him into an absolute frenzy. Opposite to him, a chaotic, unorganized person sits in contrast. He doesn't like to clean much, is notoriously late, and cannot even organize a single point in his life. When these two people meet, they will surely push each other's buttons until the point where the organized one introduces a little chaos and spontaneity into their life, while the chaotic person learns a little bit of order. We live in a dualistic world, and there will always be polarities introduced to us anywhere we go. order and chaos, introvert and extrovert, men and women, anima and animus, we then have the opportunity to bring the dualistic way of consciousness into unity. The one way to become more whole is to work with these contrasts and integrate them into our consciousness. Remember, introversion and extroversion couldn't really exist without each other, same as men and women, and all the dualities you can think of. So if there's any disowned part of yourself, something that is out of balance way too much, you will be introduced to possibilities to balance yourself out. Shadows often show up on the opposite side of the pendulum swing. You will always see your own shadow on the other side of the spectrum. The best way to benefit from this is to take the first person you can think of and see the obvious differences, the obvious polarities and triggers, and how you can balance these polarities out. Who is annoying you these days? See if there's something in you that needs more attention and balancing. Maybe you would benefit from some of their traits. When someone finds themselves complaining that another person is making them angry or making them cry constantly, it's almost never truly about the other person, but about something within themselves. If there is someone who makes them extremely angry and out of control, who constantly pushes them out of their emotional center, and they find themselves saying things like, "Thanks to him, I am constantly having my day ruined. He's just so terrible that I get angry all the time because of him," they can be sure that the anger issues has always lived inside them as well. It just needed a catalyst to bring it out, and the catalyst became their anger-triggering person. They would not have met that person and felt such a strong bond or energetic connection, especially one that leads to triggering, unless there was a point of resonance. When someone causes a strong emotional reaction, it means there is a mirror, a reflection of some unconscious and unbalanced trait. From what I've observed, both in myself and in others, when there is someone close who regularly displays anger issues or temper tantrums, and another person in the dynamic feels like they just have to tolerate it, it often means that the one tolerating it has trouble expressing anger themselves. They might have suppressed it out of their system or feel deeply uncomfortable with it. Maybe they carry a belief that anger is bad or that expressing anger makes someone unacceptable. So then, they meet a person who is far too comfortable expressing their anger, someone who storms out or loses control, and suddenly, that person becomes the devil, the one who can't keep it in and lashes out. But what about the other person who is swallowing their anger so much that it is preventing their well-being? Who really has it better? Or is the devil? Instead of painting one as the devil and the other as the victim, we might begin to see how both are playing out polarity that is asking to be integrated. Of course, nobody is ever going to be perfectly balanced. There will always be a person who will be more introverted or more extroverted. There will be a woman who is more manly or man who will be more on the sensitive side. But a balanced introverted person would find ways to introduce some extroversion into their life when needed, and so would the sensitive man who can join the gym, for example. The world is a constant dance between the yin and yang. One couldn't exist without the other. We see a lot of wars these days between extroverts and introverts, empaths and narcissists, men and women. But if any of these parties put a hand on their hearts, they would see the learning opportunities they could harvest. If only they worked with each other, if only they admitted that the very thing they need is the trait that they so much loathe in the other.